Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send the phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Plotaholics podcast. I'm Shane Wilson, and I'm joined, as always, by the animatronic gopher to my Bill Murray, Brian Tan.
Ew. So
Brian.
why the hell are you trying to kill me?
It is a long story, and it has almost everything to do with the fact that you continue to belittle and discount my warnings against the coming werewolf apocalypse.
You know what? So what? Because some Scottish dude starts to feed you this this bill of goods about a werewolf conspiracy, and he tells you that I have to die, you're gonna start putting freaking C4 in my crib? It's pretty.
I will.
Up, man.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's it. No
okay,
more.
cool.
No need to belabor that point. That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right, that's cool.
This week, Brian, we are wrapping up our March sports block of programming, which I have to tell you, maybe it's time to revisit this. Maybe we've done all of the sports movies we should do.
After this one?
Well, I mean, maybe not after this one specifically, but just after this month or this year's version of this, because I've continued to think like, oh, wow, like I get to watch the same movie again this week. And at least this one was different. And I liked it for some of the reasons that it differed from the other sports films, but for me, some of the other reasons were a little problematic, and but we'll get into all of that later on. Would you like to slice people off a little tanopsis for this week's advertised content?
Absolutely. Gotta be at my best because we're live.
Excellent.
Young Danny Noonan wants to go to college because he's living in a 2-bedroom house with 800 people. So he decides he's going to be a caddy to start making it work. When one of his fellow caddies dies due to the pressure of college, he decides he can brown in his nose to get what he wants. Until he realizes there's some things that are just way more important. Caddyshack, folks. The 1980 romp that gets to see a pre-Ghostbusters Bill Murray do what Bill Murray does.
Cool. What a great synopsis. I was riveted. I got a much better idea of what this movie was about from that than I did from watching it. So thank you.
No problem.
One sort of central storyline that you didn't much touch on in your synopsis was the Rodney Dangerfield.
Roger.
Yeah, the Roger Dodneyfield. Roger Dodneyfield.
Now, I'm actually ready to get on board with you on your werewolf conspiracy. I think the Rodney Dangerfield character is actually a werewolf in human's clothing. And he's trying to infiltrate Bushwood Estates. And the judge hates him like he does because he comes from a long line of werewolf hunters. So he just has this, he just goes crazier and crazier the longer he's in their presence. And if he doesn't kill them, he's just going to go berserk. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I mean, I don't know that there's evidence in the text to support that reading, but I'll allow it.
Well, I mean, he steadily goes crazier and crazier the longer that he's like just a dick And then he meets Rodney Dangerfield, and then he just starts to get cartoonishly insane.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah, and shout out to of course the late great Ted Knight. Ted Knight was a huge back in this era. Ted Knight was huge in comedy and television at this time. And he passed away of a heart attack in 1986. And this was when he had a television show called Too Close to Comfort. This was, sort of where he went from this sort of over the top movie villain to being, a dad sitcom type of thing. Ted
Yeah.
Knight was, I mean, his comedic timing is really, really, really on display. This is his last feature film until he started doing more television.
Yeah, and he's great here. Okay, so let's talk about the film just kind of in general because I want to get
Mm.
one of my central sort of conceits out of the way here, and
All
that
right,
is that this is a movie with very little plot. It's basically a joke distribution vehicle.
pretty much,
It,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's basically, and it's an hour 48, I think, something like that, and it's basically just a movie meant for joke distribution,
One
and
joke after another, after another, after
and
another.
because of that, the plot is kind of a mess, dude. Like,
It's lost. The whole idea of the plot just really gets lost because it's just one joke after another. Because the central plot is this kid Danny wants to go to college, but he that desire. I mean, it's still there, but it's a pencil thin premise. He just wants to go to college. That's it, and
yeah,
he's putting himself in all of these situations to go to college.
yeah, I would say that there are three competing storylines in this film, and the obviously the Danny wanting to go to college is the central storyline. There's also the storyline where the where Roger Dangerfield's character who is very rich, wants to come in and buy the country club and convert it into condos or whatever, right? Like he's a real estate guy, and
Right.
so there's that storyline as well because he's come in and he's like disrespecting all the old people, and he's earning the love of all the young people, and he's kind of a creep, and he's just super rich. And then the third
Kind of
storyline,
racist, a little
yeah,
racist
right, a
too.
little racist. And then the third storyline is I feel like probably the reason the movie exists to begin with, which is Bill Murray fighting an animatronic gopher. Um,
Pretty much, yeah.
and
Pretty much.
I think Harold Ramis probably had this animatronic gopher he picked up from like Jim Henson Productions or whatever. And he was like, I just want to I need to do something with this. He was like shooting the shit with Bill Murray one night, and they were just like dicking around. He was like, oh, what if I was like a groundskeeper, and like, like, oh, I'm gonna kill this gopher, and then like, and that's clearly not a movie, right? But it's
No,
definitely, I feel like
they had
when
to
I
make it
look at
something.
when I look at this movie, I feel like that was the beginning. It was that this idea that they had this thing and they wanted to do something funny with it, and so they had to write a movie around it. And the movie that resulted was just a bunch of jokes with a very, very loose plot.
Pretty much. Now, I'm going to take a step back for a nanosecond.
Yeah.
Well, actually, with this point and with the Roger Dangerfield aspect of it,
Yeah.
this is also the very same plot that gets rehashed in the sequel 8 years later, Caddyshack 2.
Mm.
Only this time, it's more of a focus on the Rodney Dangerfield characters esque in Jackie Mason's Jack Hartunian,
Yeah.
with another Ghostbusters alum and Dan Aykroyd as the Carl, who is Bill Murray's character, going after the gopher. Only that's only in like the last 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes of the movie, because the Dan Aykroyd character was actually hired to assassinate the Jackie Mason slash Rodney Dangerfield character.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I think, love Caddyshack because the original Caddyshack, because for its time, it was different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then because you get almost the exact same story in Caddyshack 2,
Mm-hmm.
but people hate Caddyshack 2.
Yeah, they thought that 8 years was long enough for people to forget that the plot was exactly the same,
Yeah.
but they should
And
have
it's
waited
like,
like 2 or 3 more.
yeah, or just not done it at
Yeah.
all.
Well,
Because
it's
I'll
the
tell
same
you,
thing that you've accused Teen Wolf of doing.
yeah, with Teen Wolf 2, absolutely. Now, what's funny though is in watching Caddyshack 2, I think that the seeds of the insanity of Randy Quaid, like Randy Quaid already showed us who we were when he played his character in Caddyshack 2.
Yeah.
Just this insane dude that says crazy off the wall things, threatens to beat people up, tries to play football on the golf green, and then gives people wedgies before they putt. Like that, isn't that not like if you saw a news report tomorrow that said Randy Quaid was arrested for tackling someone on a golf course, giving them a wedgie, and threatening to eat their dog, would you be shocked?
I don't think so.
Well, that's exactly the character he plays in Caddyshack 2.
Right?
So
Are you sure that Caddyshack 2 isn't just a documentary?
I'm pretty sure it is. Like Caddyshack 2 has a lot of poignant points in a class like society.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the whole point I'm trying to make though with the original Caddyshack is that very, very paper thin with just jokes on top of jokes on top of jokes with a few more jokes. Some of them land, some of them don't. And a lot of them do not age very well because we're like 42 years later. And it's
Yeah.
like, do you really want to hear a judge tell a joke about a colored boy?
Yo, this moment was uncomfortable.
That was very that was bad. And then of course you had the one of two black guys, colored boy, you son of a bitch.
Right. Yeah. I just thought this was 1980. If this movie
1980.
felt much older than that.
Yeah, this movie really well. Here's the thing, though. This was a 1980 was just an extension of the 70s. Really, the 80s didn't really become the 80s until like 81, 82, 83.
Right.
1980 is just extended 1979.
That's fair.
So that
I
kind
think
of
that that's the
fits.
case with most decades, though, right?
Yeah, the first year of a new decade is absolutely just an extension of that decade. That decade doesn't find its own identity until the second, third year of its existence.
Yeah.
Like look at the 2020s. It's just an extension of the 20 teens, really.
Right.
Like, well, minus the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, the start of this decade is a little bit different than others.
Yeah, we got a hard reset this time. But yeah, you mentioned this in your 10 opsis. The film opens with us being introduced to Danny, I think probably the central protagonist of this thing, and the millions of people that he lives with. What is going on?
Dude, that like you want to talk about just a stereotype, like, dude, that reminded me of the one episode of The Simpsons. Remember when Marge had her pretzel business and she like printed out coupons and she didn't put one per customer, and Cletus came out and was like, I have 100 coupons. Come on, Tiffany, Dabney, Elmer, Tiffany, Sabrina, Cody, Wilson, Steve, Roy, and it's like 1,000 kids come out. That is like, look at this. Look at these people.
There's like 8 people in every room.
And then the mom like just opens like 2 doors and like 45 other kids come out.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought I was getting into a cheaper by the dozen sort of situation whenever I saw this scene.
I'm serious, right? And then the dad just looks at kids and like, who the hell are you? That's your
That
nephew.
was so funny to me that he was like, "Who is this kid?" And so, I mean, obviously, a lot of extended family live here, but no adults,
There's
none
only
of these
two
kids.
adults.
Yeah, none of these other kids have their adults with them.
Right. And then it's just like, and that in that one, she's real comfortable with having her robe just out for everyone to see.
Yeah, I think that
Like,
there's something nefarious going on here. What happened to their parents?
seriously, I seriously think that Danny's dad must have like ate his brother or something. He just got hungry because they're trying to feed all these damn kids, and he was just like, you know what, that leg looks pretty good. Yum.
Yeah, it was
So
a wild opening. So a few things that I noticed in this opening scene. First, I like that you said this, right? You said he wants to get out of this house, so he wants to go to college. Because
right,
there's no other reason given as to why he wants to go. And even when he's asked later on why he wants to go, he says, I don't know.
right.
So,
He has no clue what he wants in life.
and he's a
He
good
just
golfer.
I mean, yeah, he's not bad. Now, what's crazy is I'm looking up now. When you look at the title, at the title card of this film,
Hmm.
Michael O'Keefe, who plays Danny Noonan, he doesn't even get close. He does. He's supposed to be the star of this movie. He doesn't even get top billing in this movie. Top billing goes to Chevy Chase, then Rodney Dangerfield, then Ted Knight, and then Michael O'Keefe. And the only reason why he's over Bill Murray is because Bill Murray isn't Bill Murray yet.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and
this is
Bill Murray is very much just kind of cast off in this movie too. He's just kind of an afterthought. I mean, he's not just an
he
afterthought, but you know what I
steals.
mean? He's
He
not a
kind of
part of the
steals.
central storyline.
Yeah, he kind of closet steals the show. Look at that, Chevy Chase,
Chevy Chase
Rodney Dangerfield,
isn't even the main character. Like
not even
he's not
close.
even near. He's nowhere near. He's in it for maybe 35 or 40 minutes,
Right,
and he's
and
kind of even relegated to a sidekick at that, right?
right, and Bill Murray is ahead of him on there, and Bill Murray as Carl.
Yeah.
Still wait. Now, of course, dude, the yo Kenny Loggins. This is when Kenny Loggins really started his streak of the '80s of doing a kick-ass soundtrack
Yeah.
for different movies. Like,
Yeah,
all
I
right,
will
look,
say
dude's
that
name.
to me, yeah, so his name isn't even up yet.
Yeah,
And
we
I
even
think it
saw the damn
probably,
hamster first
yeah, it probably rolls at some point during this opening sequence,
after this. Yeah, it's like past
or maybe
this.
it doesn't roll at all.
No, it's just like, all right, these are the guys that you really got to care about and screw
Yeah,
everybody else.
sorry, apologies for the fact that we made this movie about somebody else, but you're gonna
Right.
have to wait until the closing credits to find out who this kid is. But
But do you know,
yeah,
Chief?
and I think so for all the problems that I had with like lack of story and stuff, I felt like the gopher was kind of dope.
That gopher, man. That gopher is kind of cool. I mean, I have to like that's a pretty decent effect for that time frame.
It is,
Because it's
even
all
though it looks
practical.
like something that you would just buy off of a shelf at Toys R Us and
Right.
put batteries in, and it would just dance, you know?
Right. But I mean, it was kind of funny and it was kind of cool seeing that Elmer Fudd versus Bugs Bunny aspect in it. Cause
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, aren't we always there for some slapstick violent cartoons?
I'm with it. Yeah, I was way more interested in that storyline. In fact, I don't know why Bill Murray isn't the protagonist. Why do
Why
we
do
need
we
to
need
care
Danny?
about this kid who whose story really doesn't even matter, right? So like he has two love interests, kind of, but
Yeah.
even that's kind of iffy. There's a pregnancy scare that is also written out 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
He gets caught
Danny, I'm
sleeping with
pregnant. Oh no, I'm not.
the main guy's daughter, and then 5 minutes later the guy's
Yes.
like, "We'll just forget about it."
Right.
Like
So he
everything that potentially is a story is just written off like 5 minutes later.
right. And it's just it's so like we do kind of get we start to get a little bit of the honestly, I think like the teenagers in the caddies were a much more compelling story too, just how
Yeah,
they interact with each other. You know, you have the one dude that's like him and Danny are always like at odds, and tries talking trash at him, and
yeah,
dude's about to kick the crap out of him because he's that stereotypical '80s Italian guy that can just beat up everyone around him. and Danny just antagonizes him because he's behind the cage, and then Brian Doyle Murphy just shows up and like lets him out, and it's like, ah, crap, I'm about to get beat up now. You know, like that was, and even the one character, the judge's grandson, Spalding, he was even more compelling of a character, even though he was a dimwit.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that with that dude as a grandson, somebody in that family tree ain't related, like close, like second cousins.
That is fair.
Farts,
that is fair.
Double farts.
Yeah, man. And then they introduce Rodney Dangerfield's character, and you think that this is the guy, this is where the plot's going to be, because it starts to reek of, you know, a Save the Community Center sort of plot line, where he's here, he's the big money, and he's in town to buy the country club. But at the same time, what I felt was really interesting about that particular storyline is that both of these guys are unlikable. And you really don't care if they save the country club or not.
No, because who cares about a bunch? Who cares about these snotty ass people?
Yeah, and it's
like,
not like,
who cares?
It's not like when you look at
they don't have a community center. Oh no.
Right, it's not like when you look at Move Into Electric Boogaloo, and like they're gonna shut down they're really gonna shut down the community center, and all these kids are not gonna have anywhere to go. Like, these are rich people, and even the caddies are not forced to live there. All the caddies even come from privilege too, right? So it's not like it's not like if this thing is bought and turned into condos, anybody's life is going to be worse. In fact, the dude that's like trying to save it would probably be better off if he sold it.
Right. Not to and then of course you throw in there this guy wants to put up condos, and it's like, yeah, and who's going to be able to afford those condos? Nobody working class. Because you're all about making that money.
All the people that are at the country club already are just going to live there then.
Right. The only, like, once again, referencing Caddyshack 2, at least Jackie Mason's character, Jack Hartunian, is building low income living areas. So basically, working class people can afford to live in nice places. He's almost like a George Bailey.
Yeah.
So the big real estate guy is made into a good guy in the sequel. Like, you can maybe in some ways argue the sequel is a better story than the original. Which a lot of people who are Caddyshack fans are probably going to want to kill me for saying that, but let's be real.
Yeah, and I should say, you know, we're really talking about Judge.
We're talking about the original. Judge
Smales and Al Cervix are these are the two old rich white guys that are getting in pissing competitions the whole time. And honestly, I kind of liked Cervix a lot. I liked Dangerfield's character. I thought he was so ridiculous. I mean, other than how shitty he is, I like how he was so that when he first comes on and he pulls out his clubs and he's got the beer tap in the bag and all the gadgets and stuff. I thought all of that was really funny, but again, it was all just jokes.
Yeah, because they did a very, very, number one, with Rodney Dangerfield, you really don't need all of the gadgets that they had to make that he's different than these other guys.
Yeah,
because he's supposed to be nouveau riche, right?
Right.
And look, it's Rodney Dangerfield. You don't get more nouveau riche than that. Basically,
he's already.
He basically just played Thornton Mellon from Back to School, or you can argue Thornton Mellon from Back to School is this guy.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of funny. He has the stereo system in his golf bag,
right?
And he's wearing the loud colors. He walks right into the pro shop and he's just trash talking everything. Oh, look at that hat. That thing is so ugly. You should get a bowl of soup. And he looks over at the judge, but it looks great on you, though.
Yeah, I mean, so, right. And there was a lot of this that felt like this part was written specifically for him, right? Because of the delivery of the lines, that it was very the delivery was felt very Dangerfield, right? Does that make sense?
This was made to be for him.
Yeah.
Like they put this in here. Now here's the thing though, and I'm not mad about that because look, man, Rodney Dangerfield is was so hilarious. One of the one of the best comics of this era. You know, like if I'm talking about my Mount Rushmore of comedians, right, of this era. I mean, well, maybe of the what we consider like late '60s into the '90s.
Yeah.
I'm picking Rodney Dangerfield, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, and Richard Pryor. That's my Mount Rushmore right there
Yeah.
because each of those guys brought something different, but it was just hilarious. And Rodney Dangerfield's, I don't get no respect is among the greatest monologues and sort of self-deprecating humor shticks of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
He
then
was.
you got what's his name, Jeff Foxworthy, that sort of took that and flipped it into the "you might be a redneck" thing.
Yeah. I think that Dangerfield was good in this, and it really did. And maybe it's just his delivery. Maybe that's just how he delivers every line, and of course it is. I mean, that's just the way that he talks. But so there's this sort of nonchalance to his whole vibe, and
Hmm.
it's really punchy and everything. And I don't know. I mean, it's clear that the lines were maybe they weren't written for him, but whenever they gave him the lines, he couldn't help himself, and he just turned
He
them
had to make
into
it more
Rodney
of his
Dangerfield
thing.
jokes, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And this is the first of his sort of big film hits of the later half of this is another guy who really benefited from this is one of those old school comics
Hmm.
of the 50s and 60s that benefited from television and comedy.
Yeah.
Because he does this film in 1980, Easy Money in '83, Back to School in '86, and then he's essentially set. Not to mention the fact that then you look at all of his television credits of this time, Saturday Night Live in '79 and '80. He has these TV specials, '82, '83, '86, '88, and commercials, all of that. This is a guy who really he was all over the place without really doing much of anything between the '80s and '90s, and we lost him in 2004.
Hmm.
So really, this began the last 24, 25 years of his career. And it really just made it so that he was set for life, right? This was the beginning of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Let's talk. I guess we could talk Bill Murray. We've sort of mentioned him, and obviously he's one of the greats, and
yeah, this was
he
definitely oh man, Bill Murray, you want to talk about a guy that just still looks exactly the same as he did
isn't that
40 some odd.
crazy?
That's amazing. And here's the thing. Bill Murray is not a quote unquote handsome guy, but there's something about him that in his personality. Oh, Joe Compton,
Yeah, Joe
giving us some
Compton's in the
love.
house.
Bill Murray is that guy though that his I think his comedy, his delivery, his demeanor on screen is what draws people to him. But
Yeah.
it also kind of is what makes people hate him in real life. Because I mean, I'm even on his Wikipedia page right now, and the guy's not very well liked
Right.
by even some of his closest friends. I mean, in this time frame, this is around the time frame of his feud with Chevy Chase that got physical during Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think though that when you have Bill Murray in certain films, it really, really makes you bring a lot. It brings a lot to the table for us, the audience.
Yeah.
But when you start to find out how he behaves on set and behind the scenes, you kind of feel bad for his co-stars. It's like, man, you guys deserve raises for putting up with this guy. Holy crap!
Right. Yeah, and he is. We're talking Chevy now, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we'll talk. We'll direct that with Chevy right now. Well, Chevy Chase is kind of a dick in his own right, also. So
Yeah.
I guess we can kind of call that a wash.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess so. I think that like they're both kind of likable in their own rights as
Hmm.
actors, right? Like they're charismatic when they're on screen, and
Right,
so you can understand how people like that would get kind of a free pass for a while, right?
right, right. And I think
Especially
though,
once they
maybe
start getting successful.
right now. So, do you think then that maybe we could look at Bill Murray kind of how maybe he's more of a pseudo method
Hmm.
because you look at some of the characters that he plays. He plays this lackadaisical smartass that doesn't like anybody.
Yeah. And that's just
Like
who
look
he
at his,
is.
and that's just who he is. So he's just always in character. And if someone doesn't really vibe with that, he's going to harp on it and just do what he can to piss them off.
Well, I mean, I think that then if that's what you if you're saying that he is just the way he is and that's the way that he acts in movies too, I don't know that that's method. I feel like that's just Bill Murray is
Him.
always Bill Murray, right? And so and it's
Yeah.
something that plays really well on screen but not really well in person to person interaction.
No. Like right now, he's filming Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So
Yeah.
how long do you think it's going to take for us to find out that Evangeline Lilly has gone after him? Because he's just decided he's going to bust her chops for her stance on everything going on in Canada right now.
Right.
Now, granted, I don't think he's going to have any issues out of Paul Rudd because Paul Rudd seems like the kind of guy that can just be chill with anyone.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, it's either going to be Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, or Michelle Pfeiffer that we find out has busted him in his jaw.
Yeah, what is he doing in Ant-Man?
They don't have his character listed, but I'm sure he's going to be doing something. I'm sure he's doing
Well,
something.
very good. All right. Well, you heard it here first. Breaking news on the Plotaholics podcast.
Well,
Uh,
he's been cast in an undisclosed villain role.
oh, well, okay. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that'll work out for him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but see, the thing is though, I don't think we have to worry about Bill Murray getting beaten up though either because he's from Chicago. He knows how
Right.
to defend himself. He's from the mean streets of
He
Chi
couldn't
Town.
even beat this freaking gopher, dude. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Well, he had to become a domestic terrorist,
right?
and he still didn't beat the Joker.
I
Shout out
just
to Joe
think
Compton giving us the hello in the chat,
that's right.
and yeah, he said yeah, Chevy Chase is an asshat. He tried to sabotage Community. Joe Compton with the hot take on Chevy Chase being very very protective of the gang over at Greendale.
That's right. Yeah. I just feel like this movie should have been a short film
It
and
could have been like this did not need to be almost 2 hours.
it should have only been about Bill Murray's quest to destroy the gopher. And
Yeah,
at
look
that
at this.
point, this guy, this the character that Bill Murray plays is so interesting because he is off his rocker, and I'm really dying to know more about this character. Right? Give
I
me
want to know about Carl.
where is Hollywood on the gritty reboot of the like groundskeeper from Caddyshack, like the gritty origin story of Bill Murray's character, right?
Carl, yeah. Well, why don't we know? Like maybe Carl. What if Carl is actually Travis Bickle?
Hmm.
He didn't die. He just sort of went into hiding and became a groundskeeper. And he's just so messed up that he's just like everything that's wrong with the world is now this gopher.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
he
with
should have
it.
just yelled. He should have just yelled at the gopher. Are you talking to me? And
I
just like
like that
attack.
he made all these like these homemade explosives that looked like gophers, and then when he tossed them in, he bit their head. He would bite their head
Toss.
off and toss them in. I thought that was so funny because he didn't even
Kind of
have to do
nasty
that because
too.
it wasn't a pin, it wasn't a pull pin explosive. He still had to
He's just
wire
like,
it up.
yeah,
Like I
because a
thought
lot
that
of
was
folks
really
don't
funny.
realize, and because like, a lot of folks don't realize, yo, you need an electrical charge to set off C4.
Yeah,
Fire won't do it, and just biting off its head will not activate an electrical charge.
yeah,
But
but
dude,
this,
he can we just talk about though too how this guy like literally just risked lives to kill a gopher. Like,
That's what I'm
he's
saying. He's
setting off
completely
explosives.
unhinged and completely disconnected from reality. That's why I want to know about this guy.
Seriously. And like, I'm sorry when Danny, who is even more of an afterthought now, misses that putt just barely. There's no way that explosion should have like been a victory. Like, there's no way that should have happened. I
No,
don't think.
listen, this okay. We
That is
brought
some
Danny up
cheating.
again, and I'm really glad that you brought Danny up again because we've been talking about this movie for so long and said very little about this kid because like
So
who gives a shit honestly about this kid?
yeah,
He
Danny can about kiss my ass.
Yeah, and the fact that the idea that he is going to get the scholarship or pass the scholarship up. I mean, the movie in every single way hedges its bets, right? Every single I've already mentioned how every time a plot almost emerges, then it is immediately written out, right? The
Yeah.
the other thing is that it completely hedges its bets at the end because either he doesn't play in the game and he gets the scholarship, or he does play and the scholarship is taken away from him, but Rodney or cervix pays for his college, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
I'll make it worth your while.
right. So it like at every turn, when the movie is almost close to getting interesting, it decides, no, we don't want any stakes. Instead, let's just make some more jokes, and even where like even Bill Murray's character, even Carl, isn't able to actually kill the thing that he sets out to kill, which means that even the most interesting plot of the film is a non-issue because nothing actually happens. In fact, the only thing that actually happens in the movie is that the golf course is rendered unusable, which means that the
Right.
sale is probably going to go through, or it was not going to go through. He's going to pull out, and it means that they're going to have to sink a ton of money back into it in order to repair it. So
Right.
that's the only real story here, and it all happens in the last 5 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I just saw this note on here that said that, and it says here, and this is courtesy of the Wikipedia page, the production became infamous for the amount of drug usage which occurred on set, with supporting actor Peter Burkrot describing cocaine as, quote, the fuel that kept the film running. That kind of makes sense. That explains
That
a
totally
lot
checks out.
about this
Yeah.
movie.
I do love that at the beginning, whenever Chevy Chase's character is talking to Danny, he's like, "Can I ask you a question?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, he's like doubting himself. And he doesn't know what he wants to do and everything. And Ty goes, "Do you do drugs?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Good, good, good." Like,
Yeah. And he's always calling him by like the wrong name.
yeah.
Stevie, Danny, whatever.
Also, why did Danny, when he left his house, when his parents knew he was leaving to go to work, why did he sneak out of the window?
Because that's what 80s guys did, man. They,
That's
they
what
couldn't
cool
just
kids
walk
did.
out the. Yeah, you can't just walk out the front door. You got to come out the window. Like in, watch the movie Thrashing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an Amazon Prime account, watch the film Thrashing. Thanos is in that.
Okay.
Thanos, aka Cable, is in that. He's a skateboarder,
Yeah.
and his mom gives him like $20. This lets you know this is the early 80s. Gives him $20 and says, "Good luck in LA." The hell is $20 gonna do? And he, instead of just walking out the front door to skate, because he skateboards to LA.
Yeah.
He skateboards by hitchhiking to LA through the town. He can't just walk out his front door and put down his skateboard off his front porch and go. No, he has to jump out of his window and skateboard out of the window. So that's what all the cool kids were doing in the 80s. Hey, look, man,
That's
using
fair.
front doors are for squares, man.
I think that we should probably talk a bit about Cindy Morgan.
Who?
Uh,
Oh,
the again, right? Yeah, when
okay.
she's introduced, there's so much made out of her character that like that she's gonna be this big deal or whatever, and they hook
Is
up,
it?
sure, but it's ultimately
Yeah,
just a non-issue. Her entire presence is a non-issue.
yeah. Honestly, at first, I seriously thought this was our old friend Lisa London for like 5 seconds. Then I realized that. Then I realized she didn't have red hair, and then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, that's cool.
I mean, this chick is
And
hot, but I don't know why she's in the movie. I mean, I guess
well, for
that's why
one,
she's in the movie.
well, that's why I thought it was Lisa London because yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But then it's like, all right, okay. You know what though? I think that this character would have been more interesting if it would have been either Lisa London or Donna Spear. To be
It wouldn't have
honest.
been. I mean, the character would have been exactly the same. It's just that the nude scene would have been more compelling to watch. But
I think that if Donna Spear plays this character, then she probably shoots at somebody
yeah,
because it's always a hard ticket to
it's
Hawaii.
always a hard ticket to Hawaii. That's for sure. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I felt like so she comes in and she basically spends every bit of her time on screen strutting and like
yeah,
trying to get the attention
admit,
or just getting the attention of the guys, and the guys spend her time on the screen ogling her, uh,
yeah,
and
pretty
so
much.
she's just eye candy for the eye candy's sake, and she did like I said. There's an opportunity here for an infidelity storyline because he essentially cheats on the girl that he's seeing with her, but that never
Hmm.
comes back. There's
Yeah.
and then he gets caught sleeping with her by her grandfather,
Or uncle, grandfather, whatever the hell she is.
whoever, and again it doesn't matter. Like he's just like in the next scene he's like, hey, you know what? Let's just forget about it. We're cool,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's like what I recognize that my niece slash granddaughter, whatever the hell she is, she likes to have sex. You guys had sex. All right, it's over.
It's all good,
Now
man.
it is what it is, man. Hey, listen, good for you.
Good for you.
Now, good for you, buddy. Now, apparently, this movie is inspired by Brian Doyle Murphy's memories of being a caddy.
Hmm.
So is this the type? So did his little brother just start blowing up golf courses because he couldn't catch a gopher? So it's like, well, if I can't keep you, I'm just going to make sure no one else can play here either. And let's just blow it up.
Yeah, it's just I just feel like the whole thing comes from one drunken cocaine fueled night where Harold Ramis or whoever wrote it was just like, hey, what if I had like blown up the golf course, you know, and what would get me to that point? That's all I can think of because there's just so little story here, and it has
Yeah.
absolutely no business being an hour 48.
No, it doesn't. Now, here's one thing about the production. It says here that many of the characters in the film are based on characters that the writers had interacted with when they were caddies. Because apparently, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, and Brian Doyle Murray all worked as caddies as kids. I guess that was a thing. Some of us mow lawns, others are caddies.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Maggie character is based on you know, someone they dealt with. Apparently, the Baby Ruth candy bar scene is based on something that happened at Brian Doyle Murray's high school. Also
Isn't that
happened
in
to me at
another movie?
yeah. That also happened to me actually. I was working as a summer camp counselor, a day camp counselor, and we went to a public pool. And they were like, "Oh, there's a turd in the pool," and we had to leave the pool. And we did find out later on that it wasn't a turd; it was a candy bar. So
Well,
that's
always a
just a
relief,
regular
right?
gag. Yeah, that like who wants to realize that they were in a bunch of water with poop? Even though I'm pretty sure that if you're nowhere near the turd that's floating,
I was
the
about to
chlorine is
say,
probably the chlorine's going to keep the pink eye from hitting you. You got to be up close and personal with that.
yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it's a lot better to be in a lot of water with poop than a little bit of water with poop.
Exactly. Oh, and apparently Harold Ramis got hit in the balls with a golf ball the same way that Judge Smales got hit in the balls with a golf ball.
That checks
So
out.
that was one of my favorite gags though. Four smack should have yelled two.
Mm,
That was kind of funny.
mm.
That was kind. Well, I'm look. I'm always a fan
Why don't you?
of
Could you?
ball
Maybe I
ball
didn't get the
striking.
joke. Do you think you could explain it to me?
I already did. If you don't get it, you just don't get it. Maybe you just don't like genital mutilation, like male genitalia smacking humor.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think that I do. Not anymore. I mean, I did at one point in my life,
Oh,
right? But
you've grown up. Your palate has become more sophisticated. Well, you know what?
yes.
I can't make fun of you about that because I just put on my Facebook yesterday. I must be getting old because I don't like crank call humor anymore. I hate it. I hate crank
I
call humor.
and I agree. I don't much care for it either, sir.
Yeah.
And but I
So
did at one point. I mean, like, look, man, at some point you get hit in the balls enough times, and you think, you know what? Getting hit in the balls isn't funny. Uh,
As
And
long as it's someone else getting hit in the
that's
balls,
right.
I'm
And you
fine
know
with
what
it.
it is? I think this is why it's such a like it's an elementary form of humor is because when you're a kid, you don't hurt when you get hit in the balls in the same way that you do when you get a little older, right? Uh, you
Yeah, that's true. I
and
can get on board with that.
there's a level of empathy that comes from getting older and getting smacked in the balls one good time. And that's why you go from laughing at videos of people getting hit in the balls to going, ooh, when people get hit in the balls,
Ooh.
right? Um,
Yeah, I think when you're a
now,
kid, it's
I think it
hilarious,
also
and as
depends
you start to
on
get
I think it also depends on who gets hit in the balls.
true, very true. I mean, but if you see a villain in a film get like in Jojo Rabbit, if if that kid would have hit Hitler in the balls, wouldn't you have cheered
Cheered?
or just
Uh,
laughed like, ha, ha, Hitler got hit in the ball?
yeah, I
Because
mean,
now you can pick.
I would have been down with that because that's a kid doing a kid thing, right? Like that's kid humor, so that checks out, right? Like that checks out.
All right,
Um,
so what if in Inglorious Bastards,
mhm.
Sergeant Donnie Donowitz hit one of the Nazis in the balls with his baseball bat? Would you have thought that was funny?
No, I don't think so. I think that I mean I would have been like cool he hit a Nazi with a baseball bat, but I feel like when adults hit the other adults in the balls, that feels to me like cheating.
Okay.
Does that make
I
sense?
like that. No, but I think it's hilarious. All
What?
right,
That
explain to me
doesn't make
why.
sense. Like if we got
No,
in a
how is it
fight,
cheating?
if we got in a
Uh huh.
fight, right?
Hmm.
And we like I would hope that gentlemen's rules would prevail and we would offer one another a firm handshake and a nod of the head before we started wailing on each other and we would understand that below the belt and
Is a no
above the
go.
knees is off limits, right?
I would like to think that yes. If
Yeah.
you and I got so upset with each other that we were going to throw hands, I would like to think that our friendship would at least dictate our balls are off limits.
Yes.
But if you're a stranger
Or a Nazi. I mean, right.
or a
Like that's what I'm
Nazi,
saying. Like it doesn't bother me that he hit a Nazi in the balls. I just don't think it's funny, right? Like I like that's
okay, fair enough.
I think that it's appropriate, but
So all right, so you're just not.
usually appropriate things are not funny, right?
Yeah, well, I still last time when I watched The Simpsons last and I saw the Hans Molman movie where I mean when they did the film festival episode with John Lovitz and Hans Molman goes my groin and drops to the ground because he got hit in the balls with a football. I
See,
still laughed at that.
I think that the funniest way for a person to get hit in the balls is when an adult is trying to help a child do something and then the child inadvertently hits the adult in the balls.
Accident. So as long as it's not deliberate, it's accidental is
Yeah.
when it's funny.
I think that
Okay.
that's funny.
So you're still on board with the America's Funniest Home Videos ball shot thing, where
Yeah,
it's
I'm
like
down with that.
completely got you. Okay, cool. All right. I was just making all right. So deliberate ball shots are not
Deliberate ball
funny.
shots or deserved ball shots, right? Because if you're doing something
Okay.
and you're like being a jerk, like a jackass, and you're like doing something
Hmm.
stupid and dangerous, and like, and then you fall and hit your balls, like that's also on. That's also cool.
Okay, I'm on board with that then. And you know what? Now that you've explained your position more clearly, I'm on board because watching Double Impact with Jean Claude Van Damme when Bolo Young hits him with a palm strike to the balls, I'm like, dude, that wasn't even necessary.
Right.
Like that's just rude.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
Now,
even just like
if the good guys are losing a fight because they're outmanned and a
mhm.
simple ball tap can level the playing field, then I'm for it. Right?
Yeah, but
Like if
Neo never had to hit Smith in the balls. So
right. Because if we got in a physical altercation and you started beating my ass, I would try. I would try to kick you in the balls, but only if you were really beating my ass. You know what I mean? Like as a sort of a
if I
last
was really
resort
put
sort of thing.
desperation.
Yeah, it's a desperation thing, and
It's like here come that the next punch is gonna bring about a concussion. Well,
mhm,
go for broke.
that's right. That's right.
Makes
Uh,
sense. Okay,
yeah,
we're on the same page on that.
yeah, and but in most scenarios, I would like to think that I would try to abstain from any ball punching or kicking.
To be fair, Shane, I don't think I could ever like purposefully hit you in your testicles with any part of my person.
Well, I'm glad that every part of your person is off limits. I'm glad that you've decided that you're going to keep all of your body parts away from my balls.
Yeah, I woke up today and decided that violence was not the answer. Violence against Shane Wilson's balls is not the answer.
Well, thank God. This I am a little off put that I didn't even realize this was up for debate, but I am glad to know that that the debate ended in my favor.
Well, the odds are forever in your favor.
Right.
Shane.
I like the idea that you're just like waking up every day and there's like a council and you guys are debating like feverishly over whether or not violence against my balls is on the table. Right? Like like a NATO summit. Like a Go NATO summit.
Yeah. One of my many personalities is like getting all hot under the collar, yelling about it with like a diagram of like your balls and like the different spots to hit. And one of them's like, no, my friend, we cannot go this route.
Then there's another one that's like, no, we can't hit them in the balls. That's what separates us from them.
I know. I'm picturing what. Once again, I ask this question: why the hell aren't we the head of our own film studio to be able to make a movie about this? Because this would be way more compelling of a film than some of the other things that are out there.
Maybe, but it would be only as compelling as Caddyshack. Because it would also be just a vehicle for joke delivery, right?
One joke after another, after another, after another.
Which is cool. You know, I don't hate it. It's fine. It's a good place. Yeah, it's a good movie to drink to. You don't really have to pay much attention to it. It's good for a gathering.
This would be a fun drunk review film / if you're just sort of hanging out with your buddies and you just throw something on. It's a hangout night movie.
Yeah. Let's see.
You ain't got to pay attention. It is what it is.
Right. It was made on a $4.8 million budget, and it made $60 million at the box office, probably just on the power of the people involved, right?
Yeah. Ted Knight was, probably Ted Knight, Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, and Bill Murray definitely are the one that brought people to this. And a year later, we would get another Bill Murray hit in Stripes, which is probably, to me, one of his best films, even though it's a little bit uneven.
Yeah.
But it's still fun. And it gave us the classic line of "Lighten up, Francis," which I still use to this day.
Yeah.
And we barely ever saw Michael O'Keefe, aka Danny Noonan, like ever again. And I don't think any of us were sad about that.
Yeah.
And we saw Brian Doyle Murray basically getting put into his brother's movies because it pays to be Bill Murray's older brother.
Yeah, I mean, it does, I suppose. The Rotten Tomatoes score is here. Let's see what this looks like on the screen. Let's see if it translates. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Maybe zoom in a little bit. Zoom in on your browser a little bit, if you can.
Let's see.
Yeah, but for those whose eyeballs don't really work too good, 73% on the tomato meter, so
that's pretty good.
So it's certified fresh. 87% audience score. I mean, again, I think this is the kind of movie that you watch when you want something that you don't have to think. You can just put it on and just chuckle.
I think that if you want to know who this movie is for people who were like 20 years old in 1980.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'll tell you the truth, I laugh more at this film than I would, say, Animal House.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to be if I want something that's going to make me laugh, this is not going to be my first choice.
Yeah, I'm with that. The critics' consensus here, though unabashedly crude and juvenile, Caddyshack nevertheless scores with its classic slapstick, unforgettable characters, and endlessly quotable dialogue. I mean, yeah, but I don't know that that's worth a certified fresh rating.
No, because there's a lot of films that are quotable with a lot of slapstick. I mean, hell,
that have
Troll 2
better stories, right?
Well, not Troll 2, but
not Troll 2.
But Troll 2 is slapsticky. It's quotable.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if you want to look at something that's slapsticky, that's quotable with a better story and all of that, why don't you look at Raising Arizona?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That there's a lot of slapstick to that. There's a lot of quotable dialogue, and that's a far better story.
Yeah, yeah, I can get on board for sure. Should
Even
we?
Major League has really unforgettable characters, is very, very quotable, and a far better story.
Yeah. Should we get bartender Smiley in the mix here? And
Let's see what he has to say on this matter.
all righty.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So what can I get you?
All right. So for me, I feel like I've given this rating to every movie this month, which is probably why I'm feeling lethargic. But it's for me, this is a 3-shot film. It's definitely better with drinks, and because it is just jokes. Like if you're a fan of stand-up comedy, then this is the kind of movie that you want, probably. But I prefer my stand-up on stage, right? And I prefer my movies to
Mm-hmm.
have a story. And this is really what you get if you were like, let's take a stand-up comedy routine and turn it into a movie with and try to make it into a story. And let's say that that person that's doing that stand-up routine, their whole bit is just doing golf jokes. And so I think that that's like, it's like if you took, when Jeff Foxworthy made the Jeff Foxworthy show, and they took stand-up comedy, a stand-up comedy routine, and turned it into a sitcom. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? It's just a vehicle for joke delivery, and it doesn't really work for me in the way that I had hoped that it would, or that I think that a lot of people would assume that it would work for me or work for a person, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
obviously wildly popular with certain people, and it's just something that it's not for me. I love the Gopher and I like Bill Murray and I like the individual performances here, but it's just lacking in any sort of story that I can grab onto and care about.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I hate this movie. I really do. I do not like this movie. If I'm gonna watch a golf movie for laughs, I'm watching Happy Gilmore,
Hell yeah.
and that's it. Um, Same as you though. I like some of the characters. I like Chevy Chase's character. I like the sort of lackadaisical Ty Webb. I like the completely and utterly unhinged Carl, and I really appreciate I like Ted Knight's character, even though, like I said, the racism I just sort of roll my eyes at a little bit. I dislike I dislike the Rodney Dangerfield character more and more and more as I get a
Hmm.
little bit older, because it's like, all right, dude, now you're purposefully being just an asshole. Like you're
Right.
just purposefully doing that. Like, I mean, like he's literally basically the Joker. He's just walking in to watch this place burn. He's
Yeah.
just having fun causing discontent. I mean, sometimes, yeah, that's cool, but other times it's like, all right, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
Like I'm
I
just
think
not.
that one of the things that was really missing, and this is sort of what I think I've like circled around the central problem here is that all of like none of the characters were fully developed, so we didn't really explore any of their motivations for their actions, and because they didn't have any motivation,
It
the
was just doing it
writing
to do it.
yeah, the writing didn't feel uh, like they were real human people, right? They were just everything that they did was just for a punchline. No one actually wanted anything, and because no one actually wanted anything, nothing
I'm
ever
bored, so I'm
happened, right?
doing this. I'm
That's
bored,
it,
so
right?
I'm
Like
doing this.
even Danny, whose entire storyline was about trying to find a way to go to college to get out of this house, even that by the end, he's like, "No, I'm not going to go." Like
Right.
every time there was a almost a story in this movie, they erased it.
Yeah. I give this movie, honestly, this is a 5-shot rating for
Mm.
me. I'm probably never, ever, ever gonna watch this movie
Yeah,
ever
I
again
can't
for me.
imagine that I would ever go back to it either.
I mean, God, Caddyshack 2 is at least a more compelling, fleshed out
It's
story.
so crazy to me that you watched the second one after disliking the first one so much.
Well, And here's the thing: I watched Caddyshack 2 as a kid before I watched the first Caddyshack. First Caddyshack came out when I was a year old,
Okay.
so at Caddyshack 2 came out when I was 9.
Yeah.
So I caught it on HBO, and it had what tends to draw kids in: bright colors, silliness. Plus Marsha Warfield, who I was familiar with because of her role in Night Court and
Yeah.
her stand-up. So that's what drew me in. And that story, I watched these movies back to back, and the storyline is at least a way more concrete. The this real estate developer who he specializes because he's made his money. Now he wants to give back so he can sleep at night. So he builds properties where there's not a lot of money in it, but it allows him to have a conscience, which that's a fleshed out character. As goofy as the writing is, as bad as the writing may be, it's a fleshed out character.
Yeah.
Now he's bought these fields that are in the area of this exclusive yuppie country club. And he's trying to build on it, and they're trying to stop him because now they're trying to say this is a part of our heritage because blah, 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 blah. And he goes, cut the bullshit. You just don't want working people in this area.
Yeah.
Fleshed out character development right there. And
Yeah.
then but then his daughter wants to join the country club because she befriended one of the people there. So she's trying to get him to assimilate. He doesn't want to. And then he's starting to like the atmosphere because his daughter likes it. He met someone there that he connects with. And they tell him, you can't be a part of it. So what does he do? He decides, I know the guy that owns the place. I'm going to buy it off of him to spite you. Now you have motivation.
Yeah.
Now you have story.
Uh-huh.
You don't get that in this one. So honestly,
Right.
I don't care what anyone thinks. I think Caddyshack 2 is a superior story to Caddyshack 1.
Yeah.
The only difference is that Caddyshack 1, you might have some more talented people in some of these roles with, even though Chevy Chase was in both films, but you got Bill Murray, you have Ted
Right.
Knight, you have Rodney Dangerfield. But at the end of the day, better story, better character development. Period. So this is a 5-shot movie for me, and I'm probably never going to watch it again.
There you go. Brian, what
That's
are we getting into next week?
Next week, we pick up where we go back to our Plotaholics roots, Shane. When we first started this endeavor, the death of director, storyteller John Singleton rocked us both. And we did at the time, which was our most compelling and our most downloaded episode of Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
And last year we kind of strayed a little bit away from it because it was our 100th episode at that time frame. But we're going back to the John Singleton route, and we will be reviewing his film, which is a very underappreciated film, Higher Learning, starring Omar Epps, Michael Rappaport, and this is actually kind of an ensemble. Michael Rappaport, Ice Cube, Busta Rhymes. It's kind of an ensemble film, to be honest.
Yeah.
So next week, Higher Learning. We're getting away from the slapstick comedy, and we're getting back into we're getting into some heaviness here. Lawrence Fishburne, Michael Rappaport, Christy Swanson, Ice Cube. I'm in for this.
Yeah, it should be good. It should be, it's always nice to revisit these works and that are pretty influential, obviously. And I look forward to getting back into that filmography, and that will be next week. Higher Learning. We will be right back here live again on the Twitch. If you have found the Twitch feed, we kick things off right around noon on Sundays on Twitch live. If you want to come hang out in the chat, we just kind of shoot the shit for the first little bit, and then we get into the podcast. We'd love to have you over there. If you like or enjoy what you're listening to or what you're watching, make sure that you venture over to your Apple Podcast app and drop us a 5-star there. And maybe a little review action. Make sure that you subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube. I'm not going to go through all of the stuff, but wherever you're consuming us, make sure you subscribe, and share.
Absolutely. And if you have a few minutes, go to our website, plotaholics.com, go to our store, get some stuff. Maybe we'll, people start getting more into that stuff. Maybe, just maybe, we can start adding more stuff to it. Who knows?
We're sort of like that. That'll be the next project, is revamping
At some point.
Yeah.
At some point. But you know what, guys? You got to give us a reason to revisit it too. Matter of fact, I need to update my Plotaholics T-shirt. To be honest.
Yeah, you've
The
lost
last
a lot
one
of
I
weight.
got was the last one I got was like a 3 or 4X. Now I need a medium.
Yeah, I do want to revisit that stuff, and we'll talk about that off air, obviously. But
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out, and thank you if you stopped by the Twitch chat today. And make sure that you are supporting the Plotaholics however you can, and we will talk to you guys again real soon.